Welcome into the Arkansas Sports Network's Hometown Sports Football Preview, proudly presented by Arkansas Tech University, D3 Auto Sales, and by Metcalf Trucking Company. Today, the ASN crew previews Class 7A.
Welcome back into the Hometown Sports Classification Previews. We've got Class 7A here. It's the top class. Or I say the top. It's the one with the most students. How about that? A lot of people say it's where the best football is played. It's hard to argue that when you've got the schools with the most students out there, and so most kids on the sidelines, all kinds of good stuff going on
most
for
fans in the
7A.
stands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of the nicest
I'll tell you what,
stadiums, too.
that part that might be argued. I know that there's some 4A, 5A teams would probably argue with you on that. But anyway, you already know Carson Ward here beside me. We've got Alex at Gallion and Duran Miller, and we got Logan Gilly behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons, making us look good. I don't know if you can push enough buttons to make me look good, but hey, we're going with it anyway. Here we go. Class 7A and the 7A Central. You got to start with Conway and Bryant, those two teams. Obviously, they have the common tie with Buck James. Buck James led his Conway team to a runner-up finish to the Bryant Hornets. Bryant lost their first game in state to Parkview last year.
By 1 point.
By 1 point, and then ended up losing in the playoffs, which I know was a surprise to a lot of Bryant people. They were not used to that. But, boy, you look at that 7A Central, Conway, Bryant, Pulaski Academy, Little Rock Christian, Cabot, North Little Rock.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's
unbelievable.
an unbelievable top six right there. And, man, it's going to be a fun year. And we want to remind you here that right here on ASN, you can watch Week 0 as the Conway Wampus Cats travel to the Jonesboro Golden Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hill that I would die on is that 7A Central is the toughest conference in the state of Arkansas.
I'd have to agree, Carson.
Yeah, and I mean every coach that I've talked to from this conference has said the exact same thing. Coaches at Southwest and North Little Rock and so on, they say if we're playing in a different conference, we might be winning 7 to 8 games instead of 3. You know, it's that kind of conference where it's that difficult. I want to talk about Pulaski Academy a little bit. If this Pulaski Academy team was still in the 5A, they'd be the favorite to win it this year, in my opinion. Wow. Maybe even the 6A too. Greenwood still in there, solid favorites, but it'd be in consideration. But in this conference and in this league, they're picked as the third best team in their conference. So, I mean, Brandon Cobb last season, he's a guy that you would throw in there as probably a top 5 quarterback in the state this season. You know, you got Kane Archer, you got Grayson Wilson, you got Quentin Murphy at Parkview, and the list goes on. To me, he's a top 5 quarterback in the state based on the numbers. He threw a whopping 574 passes last season. That's the most in America. So Pulaski Academy, obviously with their onside kicks and their 2-point conversions, they run probably the most offensive plays in the state. And you know, he's a guy that you would throw in there. He threw 39 touchdown passes and had 5 on the ground. So really talented guy, and they have a lot of talented players that you can get into. But I mean, Peyton Adams on defense had 13 sacks last season. J.T. Phelan 10 sacks last season. All-state linebacker, not all-state linebacker, but Caden Nash, Ronan Rutherford, John Goodwill. They're the guys at linebacker. Charlie Cotros at running back, and I mean, the list goes on. They always have good offensive players and defensive players usually every year. They've been the team to beat in 5A, and now with the competitive equity, they move up to 7A. But you can't talk about this conference without talking about Conway and Bryant, so I want to talk about them a little bit. You got Grayson Wilson at Conway. They're pretty much the presumptive favorites to be the winners of that conference and probably in the state. Last season, they went to Fayetteville, lost by 3 points. I believe they were hosted by Fayetteville. And they lost by 3 points. And Coach James is pretty determined to get to that state title game, get to Little Rock this season. I think that's a possibility. It's been a while since Conway's been to that state title game, but Coach Buck James has been there 5 of the last 6 years, I think, or something like that. And last year was the first time that he missed it in 6 years. They have benefited from the transfer portal. They get Grayson Wilson, and they get a running back from Colorado Springs Christian, Will Moore. He had over 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns last season running the ball there. I'm not a genius on Colorado football, so I don't know what classification they are or anything like that, but any level of guy rushing for 1,000 yards should at least make a difference on a team. So he should be a pretty good player for them. Wesley Tapp is his backup, and he's a guy that people were having high expectations for until the announcement was made that Grayson was coming to play for the Wampus Cats. And then Bryant, Coach Sanders was very disappointed last season in not making the state title game. That's the standard at Bryant now. And Coach Sanders is very determined as well to get back to that state title game, and they have a long streak of conference titles, but state titles where you got to be if you're Bryant every year to feel like you've accomplished what you need to. They have a quarterback there, Jordan Walker. He's got some interest from some local teams, and he's got a really good dual threat abilities, and they have a running back who's committed to Notre Dame. I believe his name is Daniel Anderson. Myron Thrash is a guy who's going to be a really good running back for them as well, and Carter Ratliff plays tight end receiver, kind of hybrid kind of guy. Maybe reminds you kind of a Randy Moss kind of guy, the way he's built. And now, obviously, he's not Randy Moss talent. Nobody is. But the way that he's built and the way that he plays, he's kind of a tight end wide receiver hybrid. And he's got he's a really talented guy. Moving down the list, North Little Rock's a team that's been there the last few years. And now Coach Reed is trying to get them back to that where they were playing in some state title games. And then Southwest, they're a team that a lot of people are saying is on the rise. Cabot's a team that Coach Reed is really passionate about Cabot football, wants to get them back to where they were. They're one of the blue bloods of Arkansas high school football. And Central's another team that's a blue blood. So, I mean, it's a loaded conference. And I could talk about it for another 30 minutes if I wanted to, but I'm going to pass it over to Duran and see what he has to say.
Yeah, I'll start with Bryant. They've been such a juggernaut, and not winning it all last year was a shock to them in the playoffs, losing to Bentonville. And but they do have a lot of guys back. You hit on some of them right there, Carson. Their running back, Daniel Anderson, started the year. He's a big back, 6 foot 215. He got hurt in like the third game. Didn't come back to the playoffs, but he wasn't really full speed when he came back, barely got any work. I think that's going to help them a lot. They got another guy named Myron Thrash Jr. He's 5'10", 200, another big back, had over 800 yards last year, 11 touchdowns. But really the guy that kind of stirs the drink for them, Jordan Walker, returning All-State, 2,500 yards, ran for over 400, total of 37 touchdowns. He's going to be back. Their junior high team went 9-1 last year. So it just keeps churning out the talent and the tradition there at Bryant. It's tough for me to say who I've got. I got them in the Central. Conway, though, is just right there, and Fayetteville as well. I mean, who do you pick, right? I mean, Fayetteville's so good. I think Conway is gonna take the next step with Grayson Wilson. They did lose a lot of players. But James knows what he's doing. They've gotten some guys that, like you said, they probably won the transfer portal in 7A. I'm going to go Conway, Bryant, Fayetteville. And then after that, Bentonville. You got, all right, well, I don't know. PA's there. I mean, they got so many people coming back. I'm going to go ahead and give the nod to Bentonville and then PA right there behind them.
I agree with Carson whenever he said that 7A Central is probably the hardest. Not even probably. It is the hardest conference in the state. I mean, I just want to say this. This doesn't even tell you just how big 7A is, but this just tells you how big the city of Little Rock is. There's 5 teams in 7A Central that are – and I don't know if you want to count Bryant and Little Rock as well. If you do, that's 6. But that there's 5 teams that are in the city of Little Rock that are in 7A Central alone. So that's just massive, man. Obviously Bryant. I mean, they've won conference the last 5 years. They've won state the 4 years before last year where they didn't win state. That was a big shocker for them. Obviously Bryant, they're going to come back. They're going to come back with Jordan Walker. He passed for over 242 attempts for over 2,500 plus yards with 33 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. Bryant, they're going to keep. I believe they have 7 returning starters. I believe I could be wrong about that, but Brian, they're going to keep their talent. I think PA is going to be somebody that is going to be not a shocker, but they're going to be a team to look out for sure this year. It's just so hard to pick.
Yeah, I know.
It's so hard to pick, man.
Like,
I can't even name you a top number one.
We're not even talking about Fayetteville near enough.
Yeah, but there's 4 teams here alone in 7A
Right.
Central that could be number one. That
Right.
could win the state championship. So if I had to pick, I got Conway at number 1, Bryant number 2, PA at a very, very close number 3, and probably then
Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Bentonville, I don't know.
Bentonville
beats Bryant by, 20 last year in the playoffs? So
Yeah, and nobody's breathed a word about Little Rock Christian yet.
Right. And
Right.
they didn't do nothing but murder
Little-
some people in the playoffs.
But I believe Little Rock Christian is losing big talent. Their quarterback.
Walker White. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Walker White, who's committed to Auburn. He's going to go have an amazing collegiate career. Dude, honestly, it's so hard to pick this. I mean, this has easily been the hardest decision up to date.
Let's say this with Conway and with Grayson Wilson.
Yeah, I
Grayson
wanna talk about him.
Grayson Wilson's not going to Conway unless he feels like he's going to win a state championship, and that's
Right.
why he's there. And so they're loaded for bear there at Conway. He was very, very close. I mean, Fayetteville won it last year, and they lost to them at Fayetteville by 3. So, like, they're in my mind, they're the favorite to win it. Bryant is right there with them. Fayetteville is going to be right there. Look, you can take if we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we really haven't even talked about the 7A West yet.
Right.
But you got Conway, Bryant, Fayetteville, Bentonville, and Pulaski Academy and Little Rock Christian. Those 6 right there. You can draw a circle around those. And then I think after that you could kind of fall in line after that. But there's still some tough teams.
Yeah, I don't know why I was throwing Fayetteville in there because I was thinking overall
Right,
the whole time.
right.
I wasn't even talking about and Bentonville. I was talking about as well, so I apologize about that. I do want to talk about Grayson Wilson a little more, though. I think I've done 3 games of him over the years, maybe 4 multiple basketball games. I've seen a lot of talent over the years. I've been covering Arkansas football, or high school football, for at least 24 years now, and been a fan before that as a kid in high school. He might have one of them. I mean, I got to put him in the conversation as the most talented arm I've seen. He can make all the throws. I mean, I watched Mitch Mustang back in high school. I would take. I don't want to say all that, but I'm just going to say Grayson Wilson, arm talent wise.
Well, he almost went there, didn't
Arm
he? He
talent
just
wise,
about did it.
He can make all the throws as good as anybody I've seen on an Arkansas high school football
I'm going to
field.
say this about
And he can run, and he's tough.
I'm going to say this about Grayson Wilson. He's a great kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great kid. He's got a great family.
Oh, yeah.
And
Got a good heart.
And the thing is if you've got that going for you and as talented as he is, and let's not forget the kid can run.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Exactly. He's a legit 4'7"
Right.
kid, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ran in the 4'6", and he's tough.
He's a star.
Right,
He's just a
absolutely.
star.
Well, I mean, that's why he's going Division I. That's why he's going to the Razorbacks. I mean, you know, that's why
Right.
he's doing that. But anyway, with all that being said, I think that he adds that dimension to Conway. Now, listen, Donovan Avalo last year,
Malo,
last year was fantastic. But I think you just get a little bit more, just a little bit more with
Just
him
means more.
and Conway. And, of course, this is year 2 under Buck James. One of the things that Buck James said to me when he was talking to me about his team, he said, we get them comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I actually, my brother-in-law played for Buck James at Star City, and that was the thing that he said about him, was Buck was very good about making you comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's really what football's all about. If you can be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, in pressure situations, when it's time, you need to make a play, you can make that play. Why? Because the coach has taught you how to do that.
It's learning how to play mentally tough when you're wore out and you're dead. You're in the fourth quarter, late in the game, and you've had that off season, that preseason, those 2-a-days, whatever, where he puts you in those situations to push you to that next level. So, I think Grayson Wilson's going to benefit from being under Buck James as well. Not to give any, shade on where he was, but Buck James is, I mean, his portfolio speaks for itself.
Oh,
so.
he's one of the
100%.
he's one of, I don't know,
I wonder-
top 10 greatest coaches in Arkansas history, most likely.
I want to talk about Little Rock Christian a little bit more because nobody's said a whole lot about them, and they had a coaching change in the offseason. Eric Kohu left. He's been there for some time, and he was they're duking it out with Kevin Kelly, which is a hard thing to do whenever he was playing Pulaski Academy in state championships and rivalry games and things like that. They have a running back too named Ronnie Okoye, who's going to be really, really good. He's got some interest from some Division I schools, and their new head coach Dustin Grimmett. He's the defensive coordinator the last few years, and he's been there for a while, knows the culture. They have some of the best facilities I've seen when I've gone to interviews.
It's amazing.
And so to me, Little Rock Christian, you can't count them out. They're going to be in the mix. Them and Cabot and North Little Rock, those are the six to me. Southwest could push it if Coach Lewis works out all the kinks in year one, and Central, they have some guys that have transferred in, so they could, maybe make it up there, but they've struggled a little bit the past few years. So to me, those are the six teams, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that.
Let's move on to the 7A West. Fayetteville, Bentonville, Rogers, Bentonville West, Fort Smith, Northside, Harbor, Springdale, and Rogers Heritage. What makes up this year's 7A West? Fayetteville is defending state champions. One of the things that we have talked about here just kind of off camera was Fayetteville was the one school up there that didn't split, and they have done that on purpose. And I think it finally kind of broke through and allowed them to win that state championship that has been so elusive, not only to Fayetteville, but to the 7A West. There was a time the 7A West won all of the state championships, whether it be when they were the 6A West or the 5A West at one time. They were winning it every year. And now that has flipped. That script has flipped, but Fayetteville brought it back. And, Drake Lindsay there last year, 6'5", 200 whatever pounds, laser, hand cannon, rocket arm. He did his thing, and Fayetteville was able to break through and win the state championship over Bentonville. Bentonville is the team that has dominated that conference now for years, and that's a big rivalry. And I know that was a big game for Fayetteville to be able to break through and win. Fayetteville was a very good football team last year, and definitely had an argument to be the top team overall in state.
Yeah, to me, they're not taking a step back this year. They're still going to be good. They bring in two really good transfers. Garrett Odom, son of head coach at UNLV, Barry Odom, former defensive coordinator for Arkansas. He's really talented, was playing, I believe, at a high school in Las Vegas last season, and now he's transferred in to play for the Fayetteville Bulldogs. And then at linebacker, they have a player named Parker Meese. He was at IMG Academy last season. He's going to play inside linebacker for the Bulldogs this season. And then at wide receiver, Jason Delamore, 89 catches, over 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. He's going to be the go-to guy for Garrett Odom. And he's, last season they won the state title, went 13-0. Can't do much better than that. Going to be difficult to repeat that this season. Perfection is hard to repeat. But if any team could do it, it would be the Fayetteville Bulldogs this season with the talent they have coming in through the transfer portal. And then moving on to Bentonville, I've talked to Coach Grant. He's really excited about his team this season. His son, Trevor Grant's going to be the quarterback. They have a running back coming in whose brother's playing Division I football, I believe. His name is Chris Ficklin. Chris Ficklin's a guy who was playing JV football last season. They needed him for the playoffs. They bring him in for the playoffs, and he just kind of explodes onto the scene. And he's going to be a guy they're going to go to a lot this season. Then defensively, all-state linebacker Jonah Knapp, 126 tackles last season. It's kind of unheard of in 7A to have 126 tackles. Yeah. But he did it. He's coming back for his senior year. He could do even better than that this season. To me, Bentonville is going to be up there. Bentonville West, when the split happened, they kind of kept up with those schools. And Bentonville West and coach their coach over there, Brian Pratt, thank you. He's got things going over there, knows what he's doing. I've talked to him about his program. He's really excited. They have a lot of support for that program last season. They lost in the playoffs to Conway in the first round, 63-46. If their defense takes a step forward this season and they're able to stop Conway from scoring 63 points in the playoffs, their potential is unlimited. Fort Smith Northside moves into that conference this season from the opposite conference last season, and then Springdale Harbor is a team that's had a struggling defense, but they haven't had trouble putting points up on offense. And then Springdale in the same town, and then Rogers and Rogers Heritage. I know that Joran has talked with the coach over at Rogers, so I'm going to throw it over to him and see what he's got to say. Yeah,
Coach Chad Harbison over at Rogers, great guy, good interview. Have we played that one yet? I can't remember.
No, we're getting close on that one though.
They've won.
Is it?
It's out. Yep. It's
Oh, it is? Okay, good.
Oh, okay. That's
so
all right.
they've won 8, 9, and 9 the last 3 seasons. They have won playoff games. They beat North Little Rock last year. 44-6 in the first round. Bryant has been the team, kind of their thorn in their side. It's kind of knocked them out. Of course, almost everybody could say that for the last few years, half decade really. Rogers, I think, has a real good chance to get into the playoffs this year again, and they got some good things coming back. Jeff Reagan is a good guy, a quarterback for them, All-State last year. He does a little bit of everything, can run, throw. I think he's a good weapon for them, but this one's tough because Fayetteville is so good, and Fayetteville actually returns more than Bentonville, but Bentonville has been right there, right on their heels. I mean, I think, what was it, 22-16, I want to say, in the playoffs, in the championship. Bentonville had a chance to win that game. 22-16, yeah, I think that's what I said. They had a chance to win that game. The regular season wasn't quite as close. It was 42-21, but Bentonville is a really good team. I'm going to go Fayetteville, Bentonville West, and then I don't know. I'm going to go Rogers, and then Bentonville West is my 4.
Let me throw something in about Chad Harbison real quick. I worked with him at Russellville when he was there.
Yeah.
Guy's an offensive genius, guys. I mean, he knows his stuff. He was the offensive coordinator for Russellville when they won the state championship there. I've got a lot of faith in Chad Harbison and what he's going to do at Rogers.
Carson, you mentioned Fayetteville transfers. There was one that you had missed from Bentonville, Daxton Horton. Daxton actually had 111 tackles last year for Bentonville. So he's going to be a really, really solid player for Fayetteville. There's also there's one guy that arguably he could be the best quarterback statistically, especially the last season. But Fort Smith's Northside's quarterback McLean Moody. He actually had 15 touchdowns last year, but he threw for over 2,700 plus yards on I think on 400 attempts or 300 attempts. So I think Fort Smith's Northside they have lost. I know they've lost some talent.
He also is a dual threat guy. Can get up and down the field.
That's true.
6'6", 4.4 speed.
That's true. So I think they're going to be somebody that may get that fourth spot. I've got to go with Fayetteville number 1 and Bentonville number 2. It's really hard to even pick between those two.
And by the way, Moody is a Razorback baseball commitment.
Well, there you go.
So
I
if you're
didn't
going
even
to
know that.
Arkansas Razorbacks and Dave Van Horn in baseball, you're pretty special.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. My third spot, it'd have to either go to Rogers or Bentonville West. I'm probably would go with Rogers.
Yeah, I like Rogers there as well, and then like you said, Coach Pratt's doing a good thing over there at West, not Bentonville West, right? I mean, they don't even say Bentonville.
They don't even like saying
right?
Bentonville over there.
So I mean,
just West.
they're over there in Centerton.
Yeah.
So maybe they call it Centerton instead of Bentonville West.
Yeah, well.
Just call it Centerton, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they call themselves West over there, and Fort Smith Northside is a school that I feel like really. At some point, you got to see a little bit more out of those guys. They should have the athletes there. I really, just being down 540 or whatever it's called, down 49, you would think they would send more kids to the hill up there than they do. But, I don't know what's going on at Northside, but they should have athletes there at Northside. They're in Carson's number 5 spot there. But anyway, let's talk real quick about D3 Auto Sales MVP candidates out of the 7A West, and we talked about Grayson Wilson quite a bit. I think he was one of them last year at CAC, so there's really no reason why that he shouldn't be. Brian's got a wealth of talent there all the way down the line here.
I think if Harbor could actually have a decent playoff run, I think Titus Kramer, I think is his name. He rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. I think he has the chance to have an improvement season. So possibly if a deeper playoff run for his team, I think he could get that MVP spot.
Yeah.
McLean Moody was the guy we brought up a minute ago, the Razorback commitment in baseball. That he's a dual threat guy, super fast. He's kind of got that Taylor Green build, over 2,000 yards, almost 3,000 yards passing, and can run a 4.4. So I mean, he's got to be one you name up there. Jack Pounders at Springdale, a guy that no one's talked about much. I think he can have a good season this year. We've mentioned many of them. Y'all have already hit on them from Bryant and Conway, Grayson Wilson, of course. So that's about all I got on
Brandon Cobb.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about defense too, Jonah Cap from Bentonville.
Jonah Knapp, yeah.
Yeah, Knapp.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I want to throw out there that my pick is Brandon Cobb of Pulaski Academy. Now,
he's going to have the stats for
yeah,
sure.
he's going to have the stats, and he's going to step in with some receivers he's familiar with and a running game he's more familiar with. And they're going to be a pass-heavy offense this season, and they're going to throw the ball. They're going to have a lot of offensive plays. They're going to throw the ball a lot. That's the Pulaski Academy way. And you could throw in Garrett Odom at Fayetteville. He should have a good season. You could throw in Jason Delamar at Fayetteville.
Excited to see what Odom does.
Yeah,
It's a unique dynamic.
Yeah, you could throw Jordan Walker from Bryan in there. You could throw Myron Thrash from Bryan in there. Daniel Anderson.
Yeah.
Those two are going to be a 1-2 punch at running back. Defensively, you have a Parker Meese transfer. He's my pick to win to be the best defensive player of the year in this class. Jonah Knapp, like Alex was saying, 126 tackles is hard to beat in 7A. And then defensively, I know Coach Grimmett at Little Rock Christian is going to have some guys ready to go. He's a defensive guy. And then
Nesto Gonzalez at Rogers, big-time defensive lineman.
And then
I think he's going to have a really good year.
Bryant always has some studs defensively, and Coach Sanders is a defensive guy, so a lot of good players to watch for. Eli Hill at Bryant is going to be a good defensive lineman, isn't he? Yeah.
Well, I think we have touched it all, man. It's like we hit a grand slam
Do we
tonight.
pick our winners?
Yeah, I think we're going to pick.
Let's do it.
state
Let's pick
championship
winners real
Yep.
quick. This one's a little different, but I mean, I think Conway's a team that we feel pretty good about.
Yeah.
That would be my pick right now. Anybody else differ from that?
I'm going to go Fayetteville.
Okay.
And I got Conway. It's my number 2.
Okay.
I got the state championship Conway and Fayetteville. I've got Conway winning it all this year.
How about Conway and Pulaski Academy in the state championship?
That could be a really good.
I think
one.
Coach Lucas is really confident about his team this season. He's got a lot of really talented players, as they tend to do at Pulaski Academy.
Sure.
And I like them as my not so sleeper team to make it. They're a historic team in the state of Arkansas, a nationally historic team with the numbers they put up, set some national records on offense, and I think they've got the magic mixture this year to make it to the state title game, and I think they'll make it to the state title game and play Conway.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? Moving all the way up to 7A. I mean, their school populations.
They play Bryan every year in scrimmage, so they're used to it.
That's true.
Yeah.
And go toe-to-toe with them from everything that I've understood. It's always fun. Those type of matchups are a lot of fun.
Their depth. We'll see how that depth goes when you go through an entire 7A schedule.
Yeah.
See if that plays a toll when it comes to playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I think this is it. And, again, we want to remind you the ASN Classic on September 13th, 2024, just a few weeks away. Buy some tickets from us and come see Warren and Elkins knock it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're 2 top 4A teams. You say, well, I'm watching 7A right now. Why would I want to watch 4A? I'm telling you, it's really, really good football there at Arkansas Tech University.
Two worlds collide. They're southeast and the northwest.
That's right. And meeting somewhere in the middle, right? That's it. So we're excited. Thanks to these guys, Carson and Alex and Duran and Logan back there pushing the buttons. Bill will eventually put some stuff together on this thing as well. Yes, sir.
You want to mention week 0?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
Just make
mention
sure.
week 0 real quick, as you can watch week 0 at Arkansas Sports Network, I guess is where I was going with that. I'm getting a little tired right now. On the Arkansas Sports Network, you can watch week 0, Jonesboro versus Conway, right here on ASN. If you're at a game on week 0, which a lot of people go to the week 0 game because they're just very excited, hey, turn it on your phone.
But if you don't want to be out there in 95-degree weather,
It's going to be
Arkansas Sports Network.
That's right.
It's going to be a packed house at Centennial Bank Stadium in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
100 years of football for Jonesboro. We got Conway. We got Jonesboro. We're going to find out how good Jonesboro is going to be. That's going to be
We're going to find out how good Conway is going
Bank
to be.
Stadium?
Yeah, Centennial Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
And it's 100 years, Centennial?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Shut up now.
And we also want to
Sorry, I'm
remind
dead.
you, I don't know if by this time if it'll be out or not, or should be out. Most of it will be out. Will be our Hometown Sports Arkansas football preview that's been on YouTube and Facebook this whole time. Make sure that you tune into those and watch your favorite team as we talk about football around the state of Arkansas. It's been an exciting time here, but we're going to wrap it up, and there's going to be more content. Make sure that you stay tuned to ASN. Also, let me throw this out there. We've got a Razorback Talk show coming on periodically as Tuss Talk is on ASN now. You can join up. And then we've also got a nice giveaway going on there. Make sure that you subscribe to Tuss Talk on YouTube. You make sure you get the old screen capture on that and bring it back to our Facebook, and make sure you're following us as well. And we got a great looking igloo cooler for you if you win that. So anyway, a lot of stuff going on here on ASN, and again, we say thank you to everybody that has watched. Thank you to you guys that have been a part, and we're going to wrap it up right here as we say goodbye. We'll see you later, and stay tuned. There's a lot of good things on ASN.
Thanks again for joining us on the Arkansas Sports Network's Hometown Sports Football Preview. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Arkansas Sports Network on YouTube to catch more previews and all the latest updates on your favorite teams. It's the ASN Classic, Elkins versus Warren, September the 13th. Tickets are available at the link in the description.